Om Namah Shri Atirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Swamine Tapaharine. We were reading Swami Vivekananda's lectures from Colombo to Almora, and the second lecture, Vedantism, we had started reading, in which we had seen how the religion of Vedanta, Swamiji says, how he would like to prefer the term Vedantism rather than Hinduism. This we started with. First Swamiji discusses, and then he wants to tell this, what is this religion of Vedanta, why is it why he is calling Hinduism as Vedantism, and what are the different aspects of this religion of Vedantism. In that he mentioned about our scriptures, our Upanishads, our Jnana Kandas and Karma Kandas. Then he also mentioned about the Tantras and Puranas. And then Swamiji started discussing about the theory of Maya, Prakriti. Then he also discussed creation. Then he also discussed the ideas about God or Brahman. He said, I would rather prefer to call it Brahman rather than God. And then we discussed last time that what is the central idea behind the term Brahman. And then Swamiji came to the second principle. So first this idea of God, idea of creation, idea of Maya, idea of Prakriti. And then secondly, he came to the second principle, that this creation is eternal. So it has not come out of something. As we say, creation means, the English idea is that something is created. So if something is created, this means world was created. That is the Western idea. But Swamiji says, rather I would choose to call it evolution and involution. So the world is evolved out of something and then again dissolves, a dissolution or involution. That means it goes back to its cause. It has a cause out of which it comes, it emanates, it bursts forth, and it goes back to its cause in involution or dissolution. Then we saw Swamiji's discussion about soul. What is the soul? And the different opinions of different schools about the soul and what the Vedanta says. Swamiji says Western idea of the soul is mind. They equate the soul with mind. They don't go further. But the Vedanta says the soul is the very basis of all these layers of mind and body, intellect. So Swamiji says there is a Sthula Sharira, physical body, Sukshma Sharira, subtle body, and Karana Sharira, causal body. So these kinds of different ideas of the soul, Swamiji compares. That Vedanta says that soul is the innermost reality, and these are different bodies. Mind is not the soul, but mind is the subtle part of the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. That also we saw. And then Swamiji told that how about different, going to different lokas or heaven, how these ideas cannot be taken as permanent. How one cannot say that heavens are permanent and heavens are infinite. So he says that when somebody achieves some post, Swamiji says even the post of gods, and for example he gives Indra, post of Indra is also a post in which a person, a jiva who has done some particular karma, he will be entitled to that post for some particular amount of time. And after his time is over, Kshine Punye Martyalokam Vishanti. So that particular soul, who was even a great god, a great Indra also, he will have to return to earth, again in a human body. So this we saw last time. Then also Swamiji says that that is why Swamiji emphasizes the idea of freedom, the idea of liberation in our Indian philosophy, that why one should seek for liberation, because if the post of Indra also is temporary, if it is also going to ultimately cause me to come back to human life after my completion of that Indrahood or Indra life, then what is my ultimate goal? So I have to be going beyond these limited joys and sorrows of this world. So whatever great enjoyments there may be in the heaven, but ultimately all of us have to come back to human life or earthly life to work out our karma. So this is the best, the best aim of life that Vedanta gives, that is mukti or freedom. Then Swamiji says that we discussed last time that how soul is sexless. Soul has no gender. Soul is not man or soul is not a woman. Soul is not having any of these attributes. So this gender belongs to only body. So somebody is a man, woman or whatever is only pertaining to body. Then Swamiji also discusses about personal and impersonal God. And then we saw how Swamiji says that whatever lofty and appealing and attractive the idea of personal God may be, but I find the ultimate solution of life is in the ideal of impersonal God. That God is not a person, but He is the one fundamental principle, omnipresent, omniscient, impersonal principle, that is being, Swamiji says. And that is what he says, that I am more, Swamiji says that he is more, he feels that this is the best, more logical and best ideal for all of us. So ideal, that is ideal of Advaita. So he says, and what are our relations with this impersonal being that we are here? So he was comparing personal and impersonal God, and in that he says that, okay, what is my relation with this impersonal being? That I am that impersonal being. We and he are one. Everyone is but a manifestation of that impersonal. The basis of all being and misery consists in thinking of ourselves as different from this infinite impersonal being, and liberation consists in knowing our unity with this wonderful impersonality. These, in short, are the two ideas of God that we find in our scriptures. Some remarks ought to be made here. I am reading Swamiji. It is only through the idea of the impersonal God that you can have any system of ethics. So this Swamiji is saying that impersonal God is the basis of all ethics. In every nation, the truth has been preached from the most ancient times. Love your fellow beings as yourselves. I mean, love human beings as yourselves. In India, it has been preached, love all beings as yourselves. We make no distinction between men and animals. But no reason was forthcoming. No one knew why it would be good to love other beings as ourselves. And the reason why is there in the idea of the impersonal God. You understand it when you learn that the whole world is one. The oneness of the universe, the solidarity of all life. That in hurting anyone, I am hurting myself. In loving anyone, I am loving myself. Hence we understand why it is that we ought not to hurt others. The reason for ethics, therefore, can only be had from this ideal of the impersonal God. So Swamiji is telling that ethics, we say, in our life we are always saying, we are always teaching. Right from our childhood, we are taught that you should not hurt others, you should not tell a lie, you should not do this. So many such kind of ethical codes of conduct are taught to us. But what is the basis of all those ethical codes of conduct? Why should I not harm others? Why should I love others? So what is the basis? So basis is that, Swamiji says, impersonal God is the basis. Because God is impersonal, because that impersonal God is you yourself. You are that impersonal God. And that impersonal God is all-pervading, omniscient, omnipresent being. So this being is there in everyone. So when you hurt anyone, you are hurting yourself. This was the idea. Then there is a question of the position of the personal God in it. I understand the wonderful flow of love that comes from the idea of a personal God. I thoroughly appreciate the power and potency of bhakti on men to suit the needs of different times. So Swamiji is taking now the position that, see, position is personal God. What is the standing now? If you say impersonal God is the only reality, is the only ultimate ideal, then what is the position of the personal God in it? So Swamiji is telling, yes, I understand that people are more attracted to personal God. People are more attracted to Saguna Sakara. When the God who is having some attributes, the God who is having some form, people are naturally feel natural love for him or her. So that I understand. I thoroughly appreciate the power and potency of bhakti on men to suit the needs of different times. So Swami says, I appreciate that people need love for God, and that is a personal God. What we now want in our country, however, is not so much of weeping, but a little strength. What a mine of strength is in this impersonal God. When all superstitions have been thrown overboard, and man stands on his feet with the knowledge, I am the impersonal being of the world. What can make me afraid? I care not even for nature's laws. Death is a joke to me. Man stands on the glory of his own soul, the infinite, the eternal, the deathless, that soul which no instruments can pierce, which no air can dry, nor fire burn, no water melt, the infinite, the birthless, the deathless, without beginning and without end, before whose magnitude the suns and moons and all their systems appear like drops in the ocean, before whose glory space melts away into nothingness and time vanishes into non-existence. This glorious soul we must believe in. Out of that will come power. So this is the idea of impersonal God Swamiji is emphasizing. Now he says, I understand as a human being, as a psychological need of a human being, we need a personal God, the God with some attributes, some form. But the natural limitation of that personal God is that we will feel attracted to it, we will feel love for it, but we will keep weeping before that God. What generally, why we have a personal God, why we love a personal God? Because we want something from that God. We want our desires to be fulfilled, or we want protection, or we want blessings. So all the time, the impersonal God, which is our own nature, which is the Almighty, which is the truth, ultimate truth, this ultimate impersonal God becomes a weeping person, a weeping entity in front of the personal God. He creates a personal God and he keeps weeping that, oh God, please give me this, please give me that. And this weakness, Swamiji says, let us now, it is a time that let us now go back to that impersonal God and stop the weeping. Let us stop being afraid of death even. So then he is taking us to this reality that our nature of the soul, which is deathless, birthless, infinite, without beginning and without end. So this is what the idea of impersonal God is. So when you believe that you are that soul, infinite, birthless, deathless, which a sword cannot pierce, which water cannot wet, which fire cannot burn. If this kind of idea, this kind of ideal gets grounding in our heart, then what happens? We will become fearless. And out of that fearlessness, out of that knowledge, out of that conviction will come all power, Swamiji says. Whatever you think that you will be, then what happens? When you believe that you are that impersonal, all-powerful God, then whatever you think that you will be. Because out of that impersonal God, the whole creation has been created or evolved rather. So if you think yourselves weak you will be. So that if that God is thinking himself weak, then that God becomes weak. If you think yourself strong you will be. If you think yourselves impure you will be. If you think yourselves pure you will be. So this ideal, if we take this ideal within ourselves, rather than weeping and wailing in front of some personal God, if we believe that we are that, we who can make our own destiny, whatever we think that we will be, if this knowledge dawns upon us, then we can become strong, we can become all powerful. This teaches us not to think ourselves as weak, but as strong, omnipotent, omniscient. No matter that I have not expressed it yet, it is in me. So even if I have not expressed, at present it doesn't look like that I am really that impersonal reality. But still it is true, and I have to believe, and then it will manifest. It is there. It is the truth. All knowledge is in me. All power, all purity, and all freedom. Why cannot I express this knowledge? Because I do not believe in it. So if I believe, I will express. If I don't believe what is true, I won't be able to express it. Let me believe in it, and it must and will come out. This is what the idea of the impersonal teaches. Make your children strong from their very childhood. Teach them not weakness, nor forms, but make them strong. Let them stand on their feet, bold, all-conquering, all-suffering, and first of all, let them learn of the glory of the soul, that you get alone in the Vedanta, and there alone. So Swamiji is telling all the people who are listening there, in front of him, there are so many Indian people who have come to welcome him after his triumphant return from the West. And this lecture he is delivering to the Indian masses who have come to receive him on the Indian land. So there he is telling them, so please, oh my dear countrymen, oh my dear fellow men, that these things you teach to your children right from childhood, don't make them depend on some weak ideas, but make them strong. How? Don't make them believe in some weak ideal, because then what happens? Their whole life will become a life of misery, life of slavery. So make them bold, make them all conquering, all suffering, make them take their own responsibility, that they are that God whom they should seek. The God that is ultimate God, that is the truth that lies within them, that is their own nature. If the children are taught like that, then they will take the responsibility of their all miseries and happiness. They will take the responsibility of all their actions, and they will become the real men. That manliness will come in them. Then you get these ideas that you get alone in the Vedanta, and they are alone. In the Vedanta alone it is taught that soul is infinite, immortal, these ideas. And it has ideas of love and worship and other things which we have in other religions. And more besides, but this idea of the soul is the life-giving thought, the most wonderful. Vedanta has everything. Vedanta has bhakti, Vedanta has everything. But what is surpassing all other systems of philosophy and religion in the world? The Vedantic idea of the soul, the Vedantic idea of impersonal God, the Brahman. So this is the idea that you don't find anywhere else. There and there alone is the great thought that is going to revolutionize the world and reconcile the knowledge of the material world with religion. So only Vedantic idea of God Vedantic idea of soul, Vedantic idea of reality is only the idea that is the greatest thought which is going to revolutionize the world. Swamiji is as if he is prophesying that this idea is going to revolutionize the world in future. And this reconciliation will come. Why there is at present, why this conflict in material life and religious life? Continuously this conflict is there. A man who is religious is not supposed to be a man living in the material world, material life. And man who is leading a material life, he is not supposed to be the man, religious man. So this conflict is there in this world, which can be only solved by this greatest Vedantic thought, that is idea of impersonal. Thus Swamiji continues, thus I have tried to bring before you the salient points of our religion, the principles. I have only to say a few words about the practice and the application. Now Swamiji says, the idea of impersonal I have brought to you. I have told you so many different things, how creation, what is soul, what is Maya, what is Prakriti, all this we discussed. Now I would like to give you some hints about the practicality. As we have seen, under the circumstances existing in India, naturally many sects must appear. As a fact, we find that there are so many sects in India, and at the same time we know this mysterious fact that its sects do not quarrel with each other. The Shaivite does not say that every Vaishnavite is going to be damned, nor the Vaishnavite that every Shaivite will be damned. The Shaivite says, this is my path and you have yours. At the end, we must come together. They all know that in India, this is the theory of Ishta. It has been recognized in the most ancient times that there are various forms of worshipping God. And it is also recognized that different natures require different methods. Your method of coming to God may not be my method. Possibly it might hurt me. Such an idea as that there is but one way of everybody is injurious, meaningless, and entirely to be avoided. So, now after discussing about impersonal God, suddenly Swamiji is coming to this idea of Ishta. Why Swamiji suddenly came to this idea of Ishta? When he was so far discussing the lofty ideas of impersonal, all-pervading and all. So now he is actually trying to reconcile with the reality. This is the philosophy, this is the truth, final truth. But how to make it practical? So we see in our society that there are so many different religious sects. So somebody is a Vaishnava, somebody is a Shakta, somebody is a Shaivite, and so on and so forth. There are hundreds and thousands of such sects. But Swamiji says, in our India, all those sects have always lived together without having any conflict with each other. All those sects told each other that you also live, I also live. This is my path, that is your path. Your path doesn't applicable to me, and my path is not applicable to you. So this is the theory, and this is the knowledge that we have in India. And what is this Shaivite and Vaishnavite? That I have my own Ishta, and you have your own Ishta. I have imagined that impersonal God to be such and such, having such and such attributes, such and such form. But behind that forms, behind those attributes, I believe that God is impersonal. I believe in my heart of my hearts that my Shiva is nothing but same as your Vishnu. My Shakti is nothing but same as your Shiva. My Vishnu is nothing but same as your Shiva and Shakti. This I have knowledge, full knowledge, in the hearts of my hearts that nothing but it is impersonal. My Shiva is not person. My Vishnu is not person. My Shakti is not person. My Ganesha is not person. But they are the impersonal God. They are the form and attributes, the power represented by the impersonal God, from the impersonal God. So this, the person in India, we believe. And we know that such an idea which says that no, my God is the only God that you have to follow. Those ideas are injurious, Swami says. That any system that says that if my God and my Ishta alone is the Ishta of the entire world, if somebody comes and says that is injurious, Swami says, and that should be avoided entirely. That is his Swamiji's he is guiding like that. That we should not follow that such kind of philosophy. We unto the world, when everyone is of the same religious opinion and takes to the same path. So Swami says, woe unto the world, that such kind of world should not be, that everyone is following the same religious opinion. Then all religions and all thoughts will be destroyed. Variety is the very soul of life. When it dies out entirely, creation will die. When this variation in thought is kept up, we must exist, and we need not quarrel because of that variety. Your way is very good for you, but not for me. Your way is good for me. My way is good for me, but not for you. My way is called in Sanskrit my Ishta. So why this idea of Ishta is nothing but my way, what I should follow. Mind you, we have no quarrel with any religion in the world. We have each our Ishta. But when we see men coming and saying, this is the only way, and trying to force it on us in India, we have a word to say. We laugh at them. For such people who want to destroy their brothers because they seem to follow a different path towards God, for them to talk of love is absurd. So those people, those preachers who come to you and say, follow only my God, that take my God only as your ideal. So then he says that I will laugh at them because it cannot be. You see, on one side you are saying that you love your brothers. Your religion teaches love for brotherhood. And what you are doing is you are trying to convert your brothers into your path. And you are destroying them by that. So that is absurd. Such kind of love is absurd, Swami says. Their love does not count for much. How can they preach of love who cannot bear another man to follow a different path from their own? How can those people talk of love? It is not at all love. If that is love, what is hatred? We have no quarrel with any religion in the world. Whether it teaches men to worship Christ or Buddha or Muhammad or any other prophet. Welcome, my brother, the Hindu says. I am going to help you, but you must allow me to follow my way too. That is my Ishta. Your way is good, very good, no doubt, but it may be dangerous for me. My own experience tells me what food is good for me, and no army of doctors can tell me that. So I know from my own experience what path is the best for me. That is the goal, the Ishta, and therefore we say that if a temple or a symbol or an image helps you to realize the divinity within, you are welcome to it. Have 200 images if you like. If certain forms and formularies help you to realize the divine, Godspeed you. Have, by all means, whatever forms and whatever temples and whatever ceremonies you want to bring you nearer to God. But do not quarrel about them. The moment you quarrel, you are not going Godward. You are going backward towards the brutes. So this is the concluding note of this part of the lecture. So Swamiji is saying in this, so far he is told that why he is talking about Vedantism and how this Vedantism is a universal religion, is the fundamental religion of humanity, because it depends on impersonal. The moment quarrel comes when there is personal ideal in front of humanity, when whole humanity will start quarreling. When there is no impersonal seen behind the personal, then the quarrels will be there eternally. But if we establish the Vedanta, that Vedantic religion, that every person has their imperson behind it, so then this idea will be reconciled with all religions. Then all religions, all sects, all the quarrels will cease, because everyone will believe that my Shiva, my Vishnu, my Shakti, my Jesus, my Muhammad, my Buddha, anybody it may be, but he is nothing but that impersonal absolute reality. So if somebody is worshipping Muhammad, somebody is worshipping Jesus Christ, somebody is worshipping Buddha, somebody is worshipping Shakti, all of them are nicely and happily worshipping their own Ishta, their own path, following their own way. but without quarreling with others, because all of them know that my Jesus, my Muhammad, my Buddha, my Shakti, all are nothing but one absolute reality. All have burst forth from one impersonal God, Brahman. When they know it in their hearts, then they won't quarrel with each other and they will love each other. That is the idea, Swamiji. This is the practical idea. What is the practical utility of Vedanta and this religion of Vedantism? So this is the practical utility. That Vedantism gives you full freedom. You choose your own God. You worship Him very happily for all your life. You have your own symbol. You have your own idol. Any image and any symbols you can have. 200, Swami says. He gives you so much freedom. Not only one, but worship 200 images and symbols. But don't quarrel with others, because their images and their symbols also are equally true as your images and your symbols are. So because all of images and all of symbols of personal God are nothing but based on the impersonal absolute. So this is the idea of practical idea that Swamiji is discussing. And there is some little portion remaining in this lecture that we will discuss next time. That he will conclude what are the other practical aspects of this Vedantic religion, and then he will conclude this lecture, and then Swamiji moves to Pamban, and there is one address he gives in reply to the welcome at Pamban. So we will discuss it in our later classes. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.